Hello everybody and welcome back to the John Bush Show. Got another special video on this End Racism series I have going on, but this one's entitled End Racism in Dating. This video was powered by a post that I saw about this Norwegian princess who did not, of course, she did never experience racism in her life. She's in the racial classification as white, and but when she started to date, and she's a princess, but when she started to date an African man, she said, oh, racism really exists, especially even in dating. So now she's supporting Black Lives Matter, things like that. But on top of that, there was a viral post that I saw on Facebook, and it talked about how if you don't think racism exists, date someone that doesn't look like you. Date someone whose complexion is different than you. And you'll see, people will stare at you like you just committed a sin. You know, people stare at you like you just murdered somebody. You know, so I mean, I've experienced myself. So after I posted some of these things on social media, a lot of people hit me up with their own personal stories about racism and dating in their history, in their lifetimes. And so I will be sharing those stories with you today. Stay tuned. We got a special episode coming up. You don't want to miss it. So, racism in dating. What is that really? It's really when you date someone that doesn't look like you, their ethnicity is different, their color is different, their culture is different, even their nationality is different. It's when people are hating you and hating your relationship because there's some type of difference going on in your relationship. A European person dating a black person dating an Asian girl, whatever. That's really what we coin as racism in dating, and people hating an interracial mix, okay? Even though there's just one race, but we'll get to that later. That's what we're gonna deal with here, you know. The classic one in America, the black male athlete dating the young white girl. That's a very classic example here in America. So, another classic example is the white man dating the Asian woman. Very common example here in America in terms of interracial. So when you see that, sometimes people will hate that. They will hate, you know, a white man might hate that he's with a pretty young white woman, and a black woman might hate that that black man is not with a black woman. Okay, so that's what we're going to deal with in this video. Why I chose this topic is because people think racism is just a one-sided issue. Oh, white people, stop hating black people. Racism is so much bigger than that. Oh, police brutality, stop killing unarmed black men. Racism is so much bigger. In fact, over the last few years, only a few thousand black people have been killed by the police. Police brutality, in terms of what is racism and eradicating it, police brutality is this small. It's that small. And even though not that many black people die from police brutality, there's 10 more other ways that black folks die that I can name rather than police brutality. It's still an important thing we have to deal with. But police brutality is just one facet of racism that we have to deal with. You have to deal with all of it, not just this one part. There's racism in policing, of course, housing equality. We still have redlining going on, racism in dating, which we're going to deal with today, racism globally, okay? In other countries, and if you go to Russia, the racism there is between Russians and Armenians who look similar, but nationality is different. Racism is hate. It's hate between people. That's really what it is. Racism is so much bigger than what we make it out to be here in America. Racism is huge. It's a huge problem. And so dealing with racism in dating, we cannot expect there to be equality in America if you do not eradicate racism in dating. So if you have a white father out protesting, screaming, Black Lives Matter, and then he turns to his daughter and says, but you better not bring any of these niggas to my house. Okay, that it's still racism in dating. It's still a form of hatred. Okay, hate. You can have a preference in dating, like, you know, personally, if my daughter wanted to bring home, let's say I had a daughter one day, right, and she's going to be black or half black, and she brings home a redhead. Okay, she brings home a redheaded man. I'm gonna look at her like, I'd prefer you to date a black man that looks like me, you know, or if he's white, you know, a swagged out white guy, something like that. But a redhead being so different than me, I might like not prefer it. And a preference is okay. But here's when racism comes in. In college, I dated a white girl. We didn't date that long, but it was a small, you know, we liked each other. We started dating, but she came from a rich family in Boston. And if y'all know Boston, Boston gets racist. And her family was very rich and very wealthy. And I said, what if your dad found out you were talking to me? You know, we weren't even officially dating, but what if he found out we were liking each other? She said he would shoot me and you at the same time. I'll never forget it. I said, oh. And she was dead serious. That's racism in date. That's hate. Hating a dating preference. That's what that is. There's a difference between preference and actual hate where you ready to kill your daughter. In my own experience, I've dated black, white, Hispanic, mixed, Asian, and I see the differences. Okay, I see the differences because the truth of the matter is when you do go out as a black man and let's say you're with a blonde haired, blue eyed white girl. She's pretty. People will look at you like you stole something. Try it. If you don't believe me, try it. You know, so, and the thing is, they're looking at you because it's so different. We're supposed to separate the races in America. You separate by skin color in America. Everything's about skin color. So, oh, black person's darker skin. You're supposed to be with a black person who's around your complexion, someone that looks similar to you. Anything that deviates from that or looks different from that, it becomes a problem. It's out of the norm. But if you look at some people's dating history, even some people that have DM'd me, we should not put that stigma and that stereotype on that interracial dating, that mixing, because at the end of the day, you might be looking at your wife and you don't even know it. I'll give an example. I dated a black girl several years ago. We dated. I had no intention of marrying her, but we were just dating. We were younger. When we were together, no one looked at us. Nobody. Okay? Because we looked so normal. Okay? We're the same color, same ethnic background. Black Americans, it was very normal in the construct of what we expect. So there was no issue. Black people didn't look at us. White people didn't look at us, right? But sometimes they should have, because now she's happily married to a white man. Her soulmate was a white man, okay? So that white man should have been looking like, I can't believe she with him. But we don't do that. You might be looking at your soulmate, but you're because if it's black on black, you're not even judging it because it's so normal. But you might need to start rethinking and looking that, wait, I shouldn't look at that interracial couple with hate in my heart because it's different. Because you might be looking at your future husband. You might be looking at your future wife. And in terms of marriage and soulmates and what I've seen in my research about dating, you don't know what you're going to get. When you fall in love with someone, it's at a subconscious level. Okay? You might think you want a girl with the biggest booty and the biggest boobs and whatever she has, you think, and you might fall in love with a woman that is completely opposite of that. And you don't even know why, because falling in love is in a subconscious level. Your soulmate might be something completely different than what you've been thinking you want, because your soulmate's going to be what you need. And you got to release these racial boundaries of who you think you're going to fall in love. I have seen black men date only white women their whole lives. Went to high school with one of them. He met a black woman that was his soulmate, that was his woman. He knew he was supposed to be with her. He married her in 1 year. On the opposite, I've seen a black men date black women their whole life. Meet an Asian woman, fall in love, get married. Shout out Young Jeezy. Okay? But even in my own personal life, I have seen it both ways. And that's why I say open it up. Open up your dating preferences. Devon Franklin, it's not just about ethnicity. Devon Franklin said, I do not want to marry an actress. That was his number one thing. He didn't care who he married. He just didn't want it to be an actress. He met Megan Good subconsciously, in his subconscious, fell in love with her and married her quickly. And they wrote a book together. He couldn't believe he married an actress, and that was the one thing he didn't want to do, was marry an actress. You don't know what you're going to get. You might be missing out on your blessing because you are putting your love in a box. It's basically kind of putting God in a box that, oh, my significant other has to look like this and has to fit in this box. And if it doesn't, then you might miss out on your blessing. Open it up. Realize we are all the human race. That's why I'm so against racial classifications, because they change every 10 years anyway. You might be in an interracial relationship and you don't even know it. Check 90 Day Fiance. You will see Black American women dating African men from Nigeria, and they describe it as being almost in an interracial relationship. The culture's different. The ethnic background sometimes is different. The phenotype sometimes is different. The language is different. The nationality is different. There's so many differences except the skin color. The skin color is the same. That's the only thing. So you got to understand that you might be in an interracial relationship and you don't even know it. Interracial doesn't just mean black and white. It's so deeper than that. What it really is you're dating someone that has a different ethnicity, a different culture, a different nationality, a different language. There's interreligious marriages. There's intercultural, international, interlinguistics, interethnic. That's really what it is. Intercomplex. You know how many Black men marry women that are identify as Black, but their skin is almost white? Spike Lee, Ludacris, Lance Gross. A lot of these men's wives consider themselves Black, Tank, but their wives almost look white. Their wives' complexion is almost white. If you look up hashtag Black Love Still Exists and Falling Black in Love, I find that problematic. I find that very problematic. Why? Because you're going to create a bunch of Snoop Dogs. You need to promote a man finding his soulmate, a man finding the person he's supposed to be with, where he can settle down and create a family and practice loyalty and faithfulness and being committed in marriage. That's what we need to promote. Not promote black this, black that, black this, because on the flip side, guess what they're going to do? White this, white that, white. If you keep trying to separate everything like we're from two different planets, you will continue to see racism happen in different ways, in different forms. We have to get back that we are humans in the human race. And why I brought up Snoop Dogg is Snoop Dogg's married to a black, not no mixed woman, not no super light skinned, green eyed Rihanna. I'm talking a black woman. And I remember Snoop Dogg on The Breakfast Club talking bad about Kanye West, and Kanye's lost. He's in the sunken place. He don't have no black woman in his life. Kim Kardashian is not black, blah, blah. Downing Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. Kanye has no scandals about cheating on Kim. Kanye treats Kim like a goddess. He's Snoop Dogg bad-mouthing Kim Kardashian. 1 week later, Snoop Dogg gets caught cheating on his black wife with a white woman. On camera, on FaceTime. So what's better? Are we looking for loyalty, or are we just looking for a trending hashtag? A man needs to find, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. It's not what black man finds a black wife that finds a good, it's he who finds a wife finds a good thing. And that's what we need to stick to. And if she happens to be black, great. If she happens to be white, great. You cannot expect equality and to eradicate racism, and we only deal with two facets of racism: police brutality and racism in the justice system. Racism is bigger than just police brutality and George Floyd getting killed, rest in peace. It's bigger than that. We have to open up these racial lines we have, because most people, I just saw a girl on Facebook the other day. She posted, a girl I went to college with, her grandmother is from Germany. Like during the Holocaust times, her grandmother is from Germany. And to me, she looks black. She looks like she got a little mix in there. But a lot of black people are white. Get your DNA tested. A lot of black people have European ancestry. A lot of white people get their DNA tested. I've seen a redhead get her DNA tested and she was 15% Nigerian. And another white person who actually ended up being black was Craig Cobb, a white supremacist that had about 15% West African ancestry when he got his DNA tested. A white supremacist. We are so mixed up in America that these racial classifications are absolute. You need to see what your ethnicity is. And then we need to start looking at each other as humans. So that's the thing. It's like half the time, if you're saying hashtag black love, but you married a half black woman, do you just eradicate and omit 50% of her DNA? Well, you know, you have to open up your mind to realize that we are all the same, just different. There's so many, it's too complicated to classify people in these racial borders. Attraction at the end of the day is not a one-way train. I have literally met women from Europe that did not see black people until they were 15 or 16 years old. But ever since they were young, that when they watched their first TV show or rap video, they started to be attracted to black men. And never even met a black man. You cannot put a box on attraction. People are sometimes attracted to people they've never even met. When your brain cannot process something, fear happens, and that fear will turn into racism. And that's what you have to deal with. Emotional intelligence will help eradicate racism across the board. When you feel that fear of the unknown, when you feel that fear of not understanding why your daughter's dating this person or why you have black people in your neighborhood now, when you can start to deal with that and get that emotional intelligence and deal with that fear and that anxiety of a new black family coming into your school district, that is how you start to deal with racism. Okay, racism is broad and complex. Another great example, Michael B. Jordan. Oh, some of y'all know what I'm talking about. The Shade Room be eating him up. Michael B. Jordan has played awesome roles and done a lot for the black community, especially in the film, in the acting film, the Hollywood arena. He just gave a Black Lives Matter speech the other day. And on the Shade Room and some other posts, you know what people kept saying? I can't listen to him because of his dating preferences. Michael B. Jordan's been canceled for 6 years now. And this hate towards him is more towards black women. Black women hate that he dates white women. He was seen in Italy with a gang of white women. And people went crazy. This man is protesting Black Lives Matter because it doesn't matter who you date, you're still black. He's protesting Black Lives Matter, and in the comments, people said, you're no longer black, you're canceled, you like white women, your dating preferences are European and not African, so now I hate you. Now I'm going to be racist towards your situation now. That's not a preference. That is hate. That is racism. Preference is, I would prefer him to date a black woman. But maybe that's not even called for when he's doing a Black Lives Matter protest. People hated him, canceled him, said he wasn't even black anymore. That is the type of hate that as black people, we cannot expect the white man to treat us fairly, and we want to segregate ourselves and never date any white people, never talk to any white people, never live around white people. If you want to segregate yourself, even in dating, you know how many grandparents have eradicated their own hate and eradicated their racism in their heart because their grandbabies are mixed? Kim K has done more for black people in terms of mass incarceration than many black celebrities. That's why it doesn't always matter what you look like. You just have to have a mindset to help black people. You can be white and have a mindset to help black people. She's done more for the black community than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan just finally, after like 60, 50 years, said, okay, I'll do something for black people. You cannot scream Black Lives Matter and then hate Michael B. Jordan for his dating preferences. It does not work like that. We keep as a black people, we keep segregating ourselves. And I've seen a post, my friends, he said we should go back into segregation. I said, if we keep having this segregated mentality, and then You go into a white neighborhood and they ain't seen black folks in 50 years and you just think they're supposed to treat you kindly. That's not how it works, not how this country was built. We have to force at least communication with one another. And that communication, one of the forms of it is dating. You don't have to date outside your race, but you got to communicate outside your race. And another crazy thing I've seen is there's white privilege in dating. I'll tell you, my buddy, a white guy, he dated an Asian woman and didn't nobody say nothing to him. He didn't have no white women hating him. He didn't have, no white men saying nothing to him, none of the above. Sometimes I've noticed that it's only interracial if you date black. Oh, white men and Asian women is a huge thing in terms of interracial. But the funny thing about it is sometimes don't nobody say a thing. It's almost because why? The complexion is similar. The color is similar. I've literally seen white guys where they say, oh, I've never had an issue with anyone. No one even stares at us when we go out. I said to that same white man, I'll never forget, I said, date a black girl. Date a dark skin, not no Meghan Markle. Not no Meghan Markle. Date you a 95% ethnically West African black chick. Date her. Oh, you're going to get some stares, brother. Oh, people going to be looking at you sideways. Your mama and daddy might not be as happy because the complexion is different. And in America, all we care about is color. And the funny thing, because I heard stuff like that, white guys saying, oh, I date Asian. No one cares. I didn't think it was interracial at all. I did not think white men and Asian women were interracial until I had conversations with Asian women, a Korean woman and a Chinese woman, and they said, oh yeah, no, my father despises that because they want us to date in our ethnic group. My dad's Korean, he wants me to date a Korean man. My dad's Chinese, he wants me to date a Chinese man. It is interracial because it's bigger than just color. Over here, it's just about your color. Over in other Asian countries, it's about your nationality. It's about your culture. Okay? Some Cantonese people in China, they only want you to date another Cantonese person. I met an Italian man. One of my boys is Italian. He said his parents growing up said, it's like the mafia. You had to have at least a father that was Italian for you to be considered Italian and join the mafia. Same with dating. When you date, in some Italian families till this day, them dating a Polish girl, that Italian man dating a Irish girl is considered interracial because you had to date within your ethnicity, which is Italian. So here we have to get out of this interracial is only black and white. That's not true. There's so many types of interracial relationships just besides black and white. And that brings me to one of my biggest points here. And to sum this up, I could keep going. But at the end of the day, this is not a black versus white thing. This is a everybody thing versus racism versus the spirit of hate. That's what this is. This is not the time for black folks and white folks to be separate and segregated and hate each other. This is the time to come together because there's 40 million black people here. There's 100 million white people here. We ain't going nowhere. We got to find the cure now. We're going to keep going through this decade after decade, generation after generation. You have to get rid of racism around the border, around the whole circle of it. Not just two parts of it, not just one or two little parts of it. It has to be all, even the uncomfortable parts. Because racism in dating is a big, it faces everybody. Every ethnicity has that preference in dating. So that's when you get that racism in dating under wraps, it can make it a lot easier. You can drive out racism through relationships, through dating. All these black men that are married, all these black athletes that are married white women, that means they have access to all those white families that they can teach about the black experience.